Well, from Atchafalaya to Big Cypress, Cape Hatteras, Norris Dam, and Merritt Island, a travel writer, Kathleen Walls, is back on Big Blend Radio today to talk about 5 record-breaking parks built around waterways, and they're all in the South. I mean, we're talking North Carolina, Florida, Louisiana.
Of course.
Awesome. We know Kathleen. She's been on our show a few times on our second Friday show with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association, talking about Georgia. She's talked about Florida. But today she's talking about parks.
She's a Southern Belle.
She is a Southern Belle. She's originally from New Orleans, and you'll hear it in her accent, and we love it. She's a publisher, travel writer. She publishes American Roads and Global Highways. You can go to americanroads.net. And she also has travel books, Georgia's Ghostly Getaways, Finding Florida's Phantoms, Hosts with Ghosts, Wild About Florida.
So she likes ghosts.
She likes ghosts, and she likes nature and gators and kayaking, so we like her. She's cool.
If you meet a gator while you're kayaking in the wrong place, you could become a ghost.
I know, but we want to come hang out with you. Katie, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Great. Hi, Nancy and Lisa. It's great to be back with you.
Hey, so next time we need to be doing this in a kayak, don't you think?
Oh, that'd be fun.
Absolutely, with alligators and manatees and some
Yeah.
beautiful blue scrub jays swing.
Oh,
flying.
yeah. I love that photo of you with the scrub jay on your arm. I mean, did it just fly down? Because they're pretty personable, right, the
It
jays?
did.
Wow.
You just stand there. I mean, they're just very friendly birds. They really should be Florida's national bird, but they're not. But they're beautiful.
I love Florida. You know, Nancy and I lived there when we first got back to this country from South Africa, and we lived in the Panhandle. We lived in West Palm Beach, or Nancy lived in West Palm Beach. I lived in Melbourne, which was right by Merritt Island, which I found out, I didn't even understand the park system in this country at that time. And I was a new driver, which was dangerous. But I used to hang out there. And now we're going to talk about that. Melbourne and Port St. Lucie, all of those areas. We've kind of trotted around that state, and I find that Florida is probably one of the most uniquely diverse states, kind of like Arizona, where we don't expect, you think of Arizona, it's a desert with saguaro gumby cactus. You don't realize that not you personally, but it's not always thought about the forests that we have, the ponderosa pine forests and the snow and the skiing opportunities and things like that. And that's kind of the same with Florida, that I don't know about snow and skiing. I know there was snow in Pensacola when I lived there one time, but there's forests too. It's different.
But it is diverse. You're right about that.
Yeah, a beautiful state that you live in. But let's start with, you have this list of 5 parks you wanted to talk about, connected to waterways, and I'm going to be putting your photos and everything in our spring issue of Parks and Travel magazine. Everyone, you can get that at nationalparktraveling.com. And Cape Hatteras National Seashore in North Carolina, I think this is exciting because a lot of times we don't even realize that seashores are part of the National Park Service.
Right, and it is, and it's such a beautiful place, and it's so close to so much else you can see. But just for the park part itself, it's on the ocean, and of course that part is called the Graveyard of the Atlantic for a reason.
Oh.
So that one of the things that's in there is that there are quite a few lighthouses. There's Brody Island Lighthouse, Okrako Lighthouse, Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. Cape Hatteras is fantastic because it is the world's tallest brick lighthouse, and it has been moved. Wow. It had to be moved because the sea was encroaching. But to get to the top, it's 268 steps. I made it halfway and then walked back down.
Wow.
But it's absolutely gorgeous, and there is so much to see, both in the way of wildlife. For instance, the sea turtle nests there. The female sea turtle will come in, and these are huge animals. They're not those little bitty things you see in aquariums. And they'll come up and they'll make a hole and lay their eggs, and they'll lay about 100 eggs. And that's why you have to be very careful on the beaches. And then when the little eggs hatch, the little turtles will swim back out to the ocean again.
Cool. Wow.
And
Wow. I want to see that. I know Florida had that too, and that's the one thing I went on Cape Hatteras National Seashore, the website, and I'm like, oh, the first thing I see turtles. I'm like, oh, they're so cute, but you really do have to watch because of the eggs. I mean, now when we lived in Kenya, if you went on the riverbank and you walked on eggs, it was going to be crocodiles, and then you're going down. You're going down the river with the crocodiles.
You don't want to hurt any of these tiny little turtles.
Yeah. Oh man.
And then
isn't it also, kind of connected to like other wildlife refuges? I was looking at Pea Island. I want to go to Pea Island. Pea as in the pea.
It's one huge place along the beach, but it's several islands, many islands in there. And there are things, not only wildlife, for instance, I can never pronounce it, Chickamauga Mia, oh boy, Chickamauga Mia life-saving station. They make you pronounce it when you first go there. And it's one of the oldest life-saving stations in the country, and it's very complete. It was built in 1874, and the original station, and this one was constructed in 1911. And they do have some of the original equipment, and they saved millions of lives. They went out in storms, and there was episodes during World War II where they brought in a boat which had been sunk out there, and they rescued sinking. They rescued the sailors from it. I mean, it's just It's so much. It's nature at its best, but it's also so much more.
That's what I always think is so interesting about the seashores. Like when we went to Point Reyes National Seashore up in Northern California in Marin County, and also Cabrillo National Monument in San Diego, which isn't a national seashore. But whenever you're on the coast, there's always this other history that creeps in. It could be people living there, it could be the native population, but there's always World War II and World War I sneak in there. World War II, especially, I know North Carolina, we covered that in regards to the Millionaires Unit, which was Yale University. These pilots graduated where they were in Yale, and they were the ones who actually started the Air Force going out there and fighting. And I know that North Carolina was the place where they started learning how to fly planes to be able to be fighter pilots.
Well, you're right. You're not. Kitty Hawk is not in there, but you're right by Kitty Hawk where you can actually.
Oh, that's right.
There's just so much you can see, and you can be out in the National Seashore area, and it's wild and beautiful. And then just a few miles away, you're in this very developed area with so many attractions, aquariums, and all sorts of things. You just want to go see everything.
And it's the tallest lighthouse that we have. And lighthouses, the world's tallest lighthouse, not just America's, the world.
Wow.
Yes. There's a mystique about lighthouses, and they've always got ghosts. I did not bother to find out about a ghost one on this one because there was so much else going on, but I probably
That means you have to go back. You have to go back.
I'm definitely going to have to. Oh, yes.
Did they have pirate history? I just have to ask that because,
We did get into the pirate history, but, in the very earliest parts of it, they did with, that was one of the things, the first colony, which is right by there, too. They're not sure if the colonists left there because no one knows what happened to them because of pirates coming in. And, of course, pirate was a very loose term. If you were English, you called the Spanish privateers pirates, and if you were Spanish, you called the English privateers pirates. But if you were that nationality, then they were patriotic citizens doing the job for their country. So it kind of was all in your viewpoint.
Oh, wow. Because I just, I know you're from New Orleans. We just learned about the Battle of New Orleans, which never gets spoken about. An amazing book by Sue Ingalls Finan talks about it. And she went into this whole thing about it. I'm not a pirate. I'm a privateer.
Right. And that was a very important distinction. I mean, it meant the difference between being hanged and being honored by your country.
Yeah.
Of course, if the other side caught you, you still got hanged.
I think a privateer kind of paid taxes, but not so many. Taxes is dollars, and pirates didn't pay taxes.
They shared what they stole. The privateers shared what they stole with their king or queen.
That's exactly. So they were kind of like the good pirates, like Robin Hood. And then the other ones were, not that Robin Hood was a pirate, but I'm saying it's the same thing. Rob from the rich, give to the poor kind of deal.
Robin Hood.
Yeah, and then pirates were completely the bad dudes. Privateers were, I'm an entrepreneur that has pirate tendencies.
Okay.
Well, we have a pirate museum in St. Augustine. Getting off track here.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true. St. Augustine. That's the isn't that? Well, that's the oldest city in America, right? Or the oldest town? And yeah, it's a nation's first city. Is St. Augustine, Florida? It's the nation's first city.
Right. That is the oldest city, right? Because it kind of gets neglected because they always bring in that English settlement, but the Spanish were here first.
See? And now we have really good food. So I'm just going to say. So okay, so I want to move us from Cape Hatteras because this is such a cool list. Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Nancy and I we're going to definitely be doing every single park on this list, which is exciting. So thank you for giving us some inspiration. Norris Dam State Park in Tennessee. So where is this on the map when we look at the state of Tennessee? Because
Anderson County, that is very near the Oak Ridge, a secret city where the bomb was developed. So there's a lot more around there too. And it was the first of the TVA campgrounds and the first
that's part
TVA
of the Manhattan Project.
The Manhattan Project is what was going on right. You're just about a half an hour drive away from that if you're camped at this park.
And you will not tell anybody what you were doing.
Right, and that is so cool too. I mean, and it's not part of the park, but it's if you're at the park, you're going to go see it. The park, that was part of when Franklin Roosevelt was working on the New Deal, trying to build the economy. He began building these TVA lakes, and Norris Dam was the first one that he built. It was in the midst of the Depression. And it has about 800 miles of shoreline, so it's a lot of water there. And there's 75 sites total at the campground, and 19 of these date back to the 1930s, were built by the CCC, and they're listed on the National Register of Historic Places. As you said, history and everything overlap.
Yeah, they do. And what's interesting when you talk about all these, everybody really wanted these dams, from what I looked up, and when you think about that and you look at what's happened here in the Southwest in regards to the damming of the Colorado River, we've realized that was one of the biggest mistakes that we made to the Colorado River. Did that happen in Tennessee, or is it different in regards to rivers?
Still, because there's so much water in Tennessee, it's not looked on that way in Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Time eventually will tell whether the dams were a mistake, but at the time they were helping the economy. Now, the people who lived there were not happy about it because they were evacuated and had to leave. They even had to move a graveyard. And there's a museum on site there, the Lenore Museum Cultural Complex, and it has a lot of the history. It was pretty much begun by one man, Mr. Lenore, and he donated all of these artifacts, which kind of tell what Appalachian life was like before the dam and the people that lived under what the lake is now.
That's amazing.
And then there's a couple of remnants, Appalachian actually buildings. One of them, there's an old rice grist mill, dating back to 1798. And there's a threshing barn. And there nearby, there's the Museum of Appalachia, which is, I believe, 35 buildings. I mean, it's huge. Again, began with one man's collection. His wife finally said, this is too much putting cabins in our backyard. So, but it is, and his grandson is involved working with it now. And it's great big job. I believe it's Smithsonian affiliated. I'm not positive of that, but it's a fantastic museum. So
this is incredible.
Park, so much you can spread out and see, but the park itself, there's kayaking, of course, and of course fishing and a lot of wildlife out there.
That's cool. I love that when you can get the history and the nature connected, because the people and the land, it shows the stories of coexistence. Sometimes it shares the stories of non-coexistence.
Right.
But it explains things so we can learn for the future. And I was you sent us a photo of the inside the museum there, and I thought that was so cool, And you think about people, getting out there floating around in the waterways, that to me is always interesting about how people started to live in the land that you're walking on, and as you're walking through there.
And you remember this one, people lived under that lake at one time. I mean, I don't remember now how many families had to be moved in a graveyard. had to be taken away from there and relocated.
That's wild. That's wild. No, okay, but then you go to Louisiana and you got to watch your graveyards because they could float.
Wild.
You know,
when you go to Louisiana, it's about as wild as you can get.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up with that, and I mean, to me, snakes and alligators just normal things. I have no fear of them. I'll take a snake or an alligator over a roach any day. You've got a lot of those.
Oh, really? Okay, really, really.
Unfortunately.
Okay, well then I'm moving to Louisiana now. We're gonna do a circle.
I like that because there is something about cockroaches that are
Florida had them, as I recall, those big ones.
They give me the
palmetto. Do you have the palmetto bugs?
The great big that fly.
Yeah. Huge.
They're not my favorite wildlife. I'll take the alligator any day, especially if I'm looking down.
Most people are going to listening to this going, man, off she goes.
The palmetto bugs, they're like these they're like drones.
I know they are, and I remember them they go for water. I remember getting an apartment the first time we landed.
If it rains, they will come in. It has nothing to do with keeping your house clean or anything. It's if they can find any time, and you wouldn't believe the little openings they can fit in.
Oh, I know. Because when we first got here, I was like, we didn't leave Africa. We're still here.
We had lots.
We didn't leave Africa. They're here, But yeah, Louisiana is special, and I know that we actually talked to Captain Friedman Tucker. I just call him Captain Tucker.
He's a fantastic man. He is the only person I have ever seen. You saw that picture where he's shaking hands or paws or whatever you want to call it with the alligator. Mm-hmm. I about fell out of the boat when he was doing that, trying to get that picture.
Well, that's a good time to do it because he's holding one of the paws.
Yes. But they have very big...
I wanted to tell everyone, this is about the Atchafalaya National Historic Area. It's a heritage area, but it's also home to the largest wetland and swamp in the United States, and it's connected to Lafayette. But Avery Island and that, it really does stretch out. It almost connects Lafayette going towards New Orleans, right?
You drive over the bridge. I mean, it's like it's going forever. And and you're looking down, and it's so mysterious. The cypress trees, of course, are growing right out there. And Captain Tucker was telling us about the cypress trees, like so much of our ecology and so much of our resources. When they saw, I mean, cypress is very good to build with because bugs don't like it, termites and things. So they came in and they harvested these huge cypress trees. And, of course, now what's left is second growth mostly. But you can just imagine, even looking at the few great big ones, how these trees must have been before the white man got out there and started chopping them down.
They're beautiful trees.
But they are
amazing.
They're just so huge. But, of course, so much of them were chopped and harvested almost to extinction.
Yeah, that's a shame. I like them because my knees look like cypress knees.
Oh, stop it. They do not. They do not. They do not. But I think there's a mystical thing, and I know we've talked about that on the show with you before too. There's something about the South and getting out in the water, and it's the gators, it's the birds. To me, it's all the rookeries that are out there where you see all the babies. The roseate spoonbills. Oh, yeah.
They're existing right there with those alligators.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a connection. We'll get to that when we get down Big Cypress. But the basin is a place I had wanted to go for quite a long time, and I finally recently just got into that. I mean, I've driven over it many, many times and always been having to get somewhere else, so I didn't have time to get down in there and look at it close. But seeing it with Captain Tucker was fantastic. He was so knowledgeable. He called the alligator to him almost. He was kind of crooning in French and tapping the water. The alligator knew it was him and came over to him.
When I worked for Joy Adamson in Africa, she called crocodiles through her nose. She made this kind of sound, and they would come up, and I'm like, what are you doing? We don't want them to come that close. But it was interesting.
They're a bit more aggressive than the alligators. I did see one.
it depends on how you treat them. We didn't try to pet them for sure, but they responded to her, and she could call them through her nose, and it was just I tried it and it didn't work so good.
I'm sure it wouldn't have worked for me, but this alligator knew him. I mean, he knew he was going to feed him. How he had come
he feeds
about
him.
him.
That's
he
why.
called Hercules. He even had a name, and he said he had found him with a big hook. They use huge hooks to catch alligators, and he had removed the hook from the Hercules' belly. And obviously, like any animal, he understood that he was helping him, and obviously has no urge to hurt a man or bite him.
You know, the alligators and crocodiles have been on Earth for a lot longer than we have, so they're not dumb.
Well, we talked to him on the radio show, and he talked about he really just checks on them to make sure things aren't happening to them, that they're. He's like like the citizen scientist of the swamp, and I think that's something that's important. That when you know what you're doing, that you start to monitor.
They're such an integral part of the wildlife system. I mean.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't like them and they think they're ugly, but they're not. They have a very important place.
I love them. Okay, so
they're not ugly.
When we lived in Florida, there were all these different springs and parks, and there's one, and I just don't know where it was, and I do know, but I have to go back in the atlas and figure it out. But it's in the crease of the Panhandle. It's like when
Blackwater.
It's a state park, and it has a mansion on there basically, which is the visitor bureau and everything. It used to be like a hotel kind of thing.
Blackwater, then. I know what you mean. McCullough Springs.
That's it. McCullough Springs.
Oh my God! I've got the most beautiful picture I've ever gotten of an egret. There in mating plumage with a beautiful.
Nice.
Oh man! And when you go on the boat, like they have this area where it's all clear, and you can swim in there. And it's kind of marked off because the rest of it, man, you know what's good. You know what's circling around.
Yeah.
And you go on that boat, and I swear to God, I have never seen so many snakes, turtles, gators. I mean, and it was because they left this whole area like wild, and it was kind of like, okay, you humans, you hang out over here. We're over here, and you go on the boat, and I was absolutely amazed, and it made me feel so comfortable. I felt like I was back home in Africa. It was like, this is okay. I could live here. This is good, But that place was. I just remember, and even I remember the bathrooms. I'm weird. I remember bathrooms when we travel. Memorable ones, and I remember they were like old school changing rooms, like from when I was in boarding school, like these old changing rooms in there. I remember that going like, that's interesting, and it was part of what it used to be years ago. But
a lot of these old parks were CCC built, so that maybe I don't remember if that particular one was or not, but they date back to the 30s.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly it. That's it. It was so beautiful. It was special. But okay, so now we're gonna go from Louisiana across those bridges, into Baton Rouge, and because I remember those bridges, and you go through those bridges, and it really does kind of go from Baton Rouge, right? I just always remember being around Baton Rouge when these bridges
it's not far from there, right? It covers such a huge area. Those
bridges, and when that mist. There's like this foggy mist that comes in the morning when you're driving, and it's like, it's eerie but good, like a good.
And if you're Cajun, you might think Luke Garou is out there, the werewolf, the Cajun werewolf. It's hanging out there in that mist.
Oh yeah, I want to know. Okay, wait, you got it. Oh, come on, tell us. There's a Cajun werewolf.
It's just a Cajun werewolf story that he's a werewolf and he hangs out in the swamps, and it's used to scare kids. And if you don't go to bed and do what you're told, he's going to get you.
That's right.
Don't look at me, Nancy. I'm like in my 40s now. You don't need to be doing that to me, but it will work. It'll work. So okay, so from one swamp to another, Big Cypress National Preserve. Nancy and I did not get there. We went to the Everglades, but this is like on the what? It's on the west side, pretty much, of the Everglades.
it wasn't bought at the same time because there was property problems, but it borders the Everglades, and it is totally wild. It is absolutely beautiful. It's probably the most wild place in the world, well, at least in the United States. It was the first national preserve. It and Texas one were named at the same time in 1957.
Big Thicket. I can't wait to go to Big Thicket. It's up by Beaumont, and it goes up. And I can't wait to do that. Big Thicket has been on my radar
forever. I want to go
forever.
to the wildest place.
I like swampy.
We like that.
Well, Big Cypress is where most of the few Florida panthers. The debate now is saying probably about 200 exist in the wild, and about 35 of the panthers are out there in this Big Cypress Preserve.
Oh, we're going.
And, yes.
Isn't it also a snorkeling, like an ocean place as well, like if you're into scuba diving, or have I got the wrong park?
Yes, but that is sort of through the swamp. You would probably have to go to either Everglades City or Thousand Islands to get out in there. But you're on the water, but the swamp is between you and the water. One of the best places that you can go when you're out there is a place called Loop Road. And Loop Road is just a very rough dirt road. And you can drive around, and there's all kinds of wildlife. There's otters, there's wood storks, there's everything, and of course alligators. And what's so interesting about in Big Cypress, when you're there, especially like along Highway 41, you'll see just lined up. I mean, you couldn't even count them. Hundreds of gators just lining the banks of the whatever little pieces of waterway you see. And right next to them, sometimes almost landing on top of them, you'll see beautiful storks and egrets and every kind of wading bird. Spoonbills, just beautiful. I love the color of the spoonbills, that pink.
Oh, they're awesome.
Loop Road is a 24-mile road, and it borders the Masuki Indian Reservation. It also swings back where there is nothing other than these few homes of these people, and there's a couple of camps and things. But if you were to go there at night, you stop your car, you turn your lights off. It's pitch black. Get out with a flashlight and flash it across the water. And all of these gators that you see lying there dead still in the daytime, they're in that water, and you see these red eyes just moving really fast. Cool. You don't want to step in the water, but it's really makes you understand. And the thing about the gators there, if there's a really bad dry spell and all of the water in there dries up, what the gators can do, they'll get out there, find a patch that they think they can clear out for whatever reason, and use their tails to sort of dig out a little pond, which provides water for these wading birds, who in turn provide dinner for the alligators. But without the alligators, the wading birds would become extinct because during the dry spells they would not have any water.
See, iguanas have that same thing. Of course, crocodiles do, and that's why they got those big, swishy tails. There's muscles in there. Like snakes have something like, I think, 48,000 muscles in a snake to be able to like swish around like they do. And so when you look at it, there's muscles in those tails.
Well, when we were kids, my brother had a pet king snake. We called her Baby. He would wrap her around his neck. I wasn't that brave because king snakes are constrictors.
Yeah.
But not as bad as the boa constrictor, but I put it around my wrist, and you could feel it moving. But it didn't. People think snakes are slimy and things like that, and they're not
slimy.
They're a nice, neat feeling. It's just very...
They're waxy.
They're
not slimy.
No, they're waxy, and they're
waxy and shiny.
But I wanted to go back to this thing at night. I think you brought up something so important because we always think about parks in the daylight, and I know the National Park Service has really, pushed the fact that parks are part of the night experience. Whether you're camping and you look at the stars, or you go to a sky watching program where you can, have an astronomer teach you about what you're seeing up in the sky at night. But there's all kinds of ranger-led walks through nature at night. And what you're talking about, like I'm going, first instinct is like, dude, I ain't walking with alligators at night. No, but of course I will. It's the first thing I'm going to do. That is the coolest thing ever. And I love the fact that you're talking about them burrowing like that, because I learned about that from the Hinga Trail in the Everglades. that trail, I couldn't believe it. We almost missed it, and we were in winter. It was this time of year, actually to the date, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
In 2012 we were there, and because the water recedes, you were able to see more gators, more birds. The gallinules, my favorites. Oh, I love the
I
gallinules.
love those. I've managed to get a beautiful picture. It's that coloring, that purple, beautiful color.
Amazing.
They are amazing. And everybody, it is weird because the birds will go right up to a gator and they just like don't care. And
you
talk about that creating those things for them, those burrows, or
it's camouflage. I mean, in Africa, I saw like what I would say a bobcat here, but a genet cat over there walks right onto a crocodile's nose, and I was like, oh my God, look at that! And then the crocodile just flipped his head, snapped at him, bye bye kitten, It was like, oh my gosh, and it was like, you live here, you know that's a crocodile, but that's really not how it works. There's the camouflage, and being in the mud dampens the smell, so the cat just thought it was a log.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
there you go. So it's not like the cat's
stupid. It's rough to see something eaten, but that's nature's way. And I mean,
they all have to eat. So
yeah. Wow.
But that was like, I was like, the crocodile's asleep and the cat's standing on his nose and nothing's going to happen, but this is weird, and boom.
Wow.
I got to
move awfully fast.
I do want to give a plug to the National Parks Conservation Association. If you go to npca.org, please check out what's happening in Big Cypress, because we're talking about all this amazing wildlife encounters and everything that happens there, but it is under threat for gas and oil exploration right now. So there's a lot of issues facing the Florida panther is one of the most important things.
Yes.
The storks, the birds, the ibis, the roseate spoonbills, but also the storks we're in trouble with those birds. Are close on either on the endangered list or close to it. We've done a lot of shows about it, but
Our political system, our governors have not been too concerned about the environment. So that's sort of suffered lately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to npca.org, just check it out. If that's something that interests you. I'm not getting into all that today, but I just wanted to. Yeah. It's such a magical place. When you look at everything that is there, like the Florida panther. I mean, it's like us getting a jaguar that crosses over here. You're like, wow. So you want to protect those corridors.
They need to be protected.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Now, one of the animals that is just such a cool thing about Florida is the manatee, and I know that they've had a rough time. There's been all kinds of weird things going on with the water.
Every one of them I've seen practically has had scars on their backs from boaters being careless and going too fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's why we have the no wake zones. And that's one of the things that you can see in Merritt Island. If we move on to Merritt Island at this point.
Yeah,
Merritt
that's
Island,
where we're talking. Those beautiful big hippos.
There's a viewing place where you can stand there. And the time I was there last, it was mating season. Ooh. And you could see them milling around under the water doing their, I guess, mating dances and stuff. And then, of course, they've got a surface. And that's the time to get the picture when they just break that water and come up. But it's kind of hard to get. But Merritt Island National Wildlife, again, you're talking about this mix of present day, not only history, I guess, future, because there's a place in Merritt Island as you're going, right after you go in, or you're going through Titusville, and as you're going in, you look off to your right, and you can see right down there to a launch pad. So it's like the most natural wild place in the area, right next to the most highly technological place.
Wow. That's wild. I know you've got NASA there. I lived in Melbourne, and I remember, the space thingies going up, and everybody pulling over.
Yeah.
And
I lived in the kind of central.
I had no idea what was going on. I just, arrived and started, living and working there, and people are pulled over, and I'm like, we're going to beam up. And they're like, yeah, people are pulled over the side of the road looking up to the sky. Do you know how eerie that is when you don't know what's going on? I really thought, like, Armageddon is coming. That's it. We're over. I'm like, where's my wine? I don't have any. What is going on? But I learned about it, and living in Melbourne, Merritt Island was, I would just go off on a drive just to, de-stress, and found out this area, and it was just this magical, it's just magical. I just remember driving all over and
because it's
walking
so wild,
around.
beautiful, and untouched. Did you see any of the scrub jays when you were there?
Oh my gosh, I remember a lot of scrub jays in Florida, and that's where the one landed on you. Was there?
Right. The neat thing about them, the only place in the whole world that they're found is right there in Central Florida. There's a western scrub jay, but it's a different species. But they come out, and you know the really cute thing about them. We got pictures of both the adult and the younger one, and there's one, I don't know if I sent you that one, of the little bird where he's standing there in a tree looking like he thinks he's an eagle. And the way they work, the mother and father she lays the eggs, and they jointly hatch the baby. And then after that one becomes a juvenile, and they go on the second, mom and daddy are on the second litter. I guess litter's not the right word for birds, but the second batch of eggs.
Clutch? Clutch.
Right.
Okay.
The clutch, right. The juvenile, the first one, the young juvenile, will sort of play guard for him and watch that nobody disturbs the eggs. He just hangs around until his younger brothers and sisters grow up. And if you go out in there and you're walking down, Scrub Jay Trail is the best place to see them. And just stand there. They'll come land on your hand. I've got them land on my hat. They land on your hand, and you don't want to grab them because they're little tiny birds. You don't want to hurt them. But if you just stand very still, they will land on you. It's sort of like being in a butterfly enclosure. Where the butterflies will come land on you. But,
wow, that's amazing.
The bobcats out there too, which I've never seen the bobcats, but I know they're there.
Oh,
and the two main, there's Black Point Road and Biolab Road, both of which are kind of rough. Black Point's, if you don't want to really take a rough road, Black Point is a little bit better. But both of them are great for sighting just about every kind of wading bird you can imagine. And there's other ones if you're lucky too.
I can't wait to get back out there. I mean, to me, like, it's so cool. America is such an amazing, diverse, and beautiful, beautiful country. When you think about, like, here we are in the desert, and we get wading birds and everything here, and it's like in this desert landscape, and then just, I say a few hours drive, and a few days drive, I could be over in your neck of the swamp and going like, look at this, and there's so manatees,
Even sunsets, one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen has been over there near Tucson.
Yes.
With the cactus and the sun going down, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. And we have good sunrises and sunsets here, and that's the thing. I'm glad our home base is we go on our Love Your Parks tour, and traveling full time, and Yuma, Arizona, the historic Coronado Mud Hotel. Got to give them a shout out because they're so cool. They're our hotel headquarters, so we get to, because what happens is as travel writers, we need to get to a point where we can do it, and write it. Even as much as you do it on the road, you still need to land, and so there are landing spots. Yeah,
you got to regroup your brain.
Yeah, you got to, but and it's great because there's sunrises and sunsets like Tucson. They have it over the lower Colorado River, and you can walk along the waterfront.
Amazing.
You see beaver because they've restored the water, and so you see beaver, and you see herons and egrets and ibis, and it's like, it's so cool because you don't think you're in Arizona, and that's the neat thing about these places, America, and going to these parks. And you understand more about how our land was developed and how things
actually work.
Yeah, so when we look at things now, how did that change happen? How did we get a mail system? Well, it started with the Pony Express and the Butterfield Overland Stage Route and the Wells Fargo Company and all these things, and now all we do is text message. So it's kind of interesting how we've changed.
Come a long way with the Pony Express, which is another thing you've got out there in Arizona so much. I don't remember exactly where it was, but we visited a old former range station, stop-off station for the Pony Express.
Wow, it's going to be up north. That's going to be up north. Yeah, it's going to be. That's.
It only lasted like 18 months, but you see all the old Western movies, you think it went on for forever.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it amazing?
I just want to gallop on a horse into town and throw the mailbag down and have some dude throw the new mailbag and take off.
And don't forget, you got to run and jump on the horse and jump right off.
Absolutely, and take time for a cool one, and then you go.
Giddy up, boys. Giddy up, boys. Well, Katie, when we get to Florida, we're calling you. We're going to go kayaking. We'll do a radio interview from the kayak out in the water.
Oh, that'd be so much fun.
Yes, we will do that. We will do an interview.
We can photograph it.
And Nancy can be David Attenborough, so she can go. And the alligator.
I can be down with the alligators.
Yeah, she can do the alligator report.
Them.
She likes that.
Well,
I know.
Go out from St. Augustine out there. Barbara Holland, she paddleboards now. I sit down in my kayak, but she stands up.
There's no standing up with me. No, because I drink way too much wine for that. No. That's it. That's not happening. I have a lot of after effects that will happen from the night before. I'll be all like,
the water's kind of shallow if you go out there along the
yeah, it doesn't matter if it's shallow or deep. I'm going in. Yeah, I know it.
I've actually been bitten by an alligator. And
no
this
kidding.
was but it was a baby, like a real baby. My brother had one, which I am not saying you should have a baby alligator, please, people.
That was terrible when they sold them in stores.
Yeah, it's horrible. And he put it in, I was supposed to do the dishes, and he put it in the water, and I didn't know it was there, so I put my hand in the water, and it bit me. I mean, the alligator was maybe 9-10 inches long, and it just hooked on my finger. I was like, "Hey, baby, what you doing?" I'm like, "You're really hurting me right now." And then I thought, this is not what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
No, it kills me when they now they don't so much sell the alligators, but they still sell turtles, and I hate that.
Oh no,
because they last forever. That's the thing, and people die, and then they leave their turtles, in a box somewhere. But Katie, it has been such a pleasure having you back on the show. And as we travel, I know, we work a lot with the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association, and part of why you're here, and all the good adventures you have to share with us. We really appreciate it. So I think we need to have, we call it International Food Wine Travel Writers Association, IFTWA. I think we're going to have IFTWA parties across the country as we go.
Well, that'd be fun.
That would be great.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Mm-hmm.
We'll just have
and I'll
parties.
When you guys get anywhere around, you'd better call me and we'll get together and do some kayaking.
Cool. No, we used to say in South Africa, dinkum, like it's real for real. It's dinkum. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to say that.
Say that here. I'm
I don't
not
know,
sure
but
what
that's
that might mean.
Dinkum for dinkum. It's Dutch, whatever. But yes, for sure. Now listen, we've got a special song for you. It's Bottom of the Bayou. We had to play it, because it's from New Orleans, and that's your hometown. And it's from the album Second Shot from John Roniger and the Good for Nothing Band. And you can keep up with them at thegoodfornothingband.com. And if you get to New Orleans, look them up. They're playing all over the place all the time. They play in Florida. They go up to Nashville. They do the South because they're good for nothing, and they'll go everywhere. Yeah, check them out. They're really good. And keep up with Kathleen. Go to her website, AmericanRoads.net. She's also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You want to give everybody a shout-out for your social media, or is it best for them to go to your website?
They'll see more at the website, but I'm all over the place.
Well, there you go.
In my website, I'm
kayaking around the social media
world. Time.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but keep up with her. Yeah, because it's Katie Walls, Katy, Katie Walls on Instagram, right? And Twitter that way. And
Katie R. Walls on one of them, and Katie Walls on Twitter, and I think Katie R. Walls on Instagram.
Okay.
When the name is used, you have to throw something else in there.
And who dare use your name? Like, how dare they?
You hate that.
I know.
My name is, Lisa Smith.
I know. Leave me alone. I didn't do that. I did not do that, but I'm happy because I'm here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in a kayak.
I have enjoyed it so much. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much. You take care and safe travels.
You too.
Here it is, everyone. Bottom of the Bayou from John Roniger and the Good for Nothing Band.
them cars came a-going missing about 10 years or so. Streetcars, shopping cars, kitchen sinks and stoves. Uncle styled at a Cajun gal that he met on Bourbon Street. Still embraced, they found encased, cement shoes on their feet. Oh, me, oh, my, oh, it's all at the bottom of the bio. We don't care who put it there, we're happy in denial. And oh, me, oh, day, oh, get on your knees and pray. Oh, yeah, don't wind up tied to your truck in the mud at the bottom of the bio. Yankees way up north. An aeroplane that done disappeared from the skies in the Vietnam War. Tubas, trombones, tennis shoes, and an old-timers out of no band. Fortune tellers, a couple of clowns, some old hippies in a van. Oh, me, oh, my, oh, it's all at the bottom of the bio. We don't care who put it there, we're happy in denial. And oh, oh, me, oh, day, oh, get on your knees and pray. Oh, yeah, don't wind up tied to your truck in the mud at the bottom of the bio. When you're casting out your line for a fun-filled day of fishing, don't be chagrined when you're feeling in that shit that you've been missing. We don't care who put it there, leave us here in denial. And oh, oh, me, oh, day, oh, get on your knees, pray. Oh, well, you don't mind.